Uninformed immigrants are at a huge disadvantage in court, in financial and legal matters, and also sometimes in life. Well, what can we do about it? I'll tell you what. We can train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to maximize their lives regardless of their immigration status. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. I am your immigration lawyer and host, Otis Landerholm, and this is the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Immigrant Podcast, and thank you so much for being with me here today. My podcast today is called Letting Go of the Trigger. And here's my quote before we start out here. My quote comes from Wayne Dyer, at least I think it was he that said this. Dr. Wayne Dyer says, "Loving people live in a loving world. Hostile people live in a hostile world. Same world." I'll say that again. Loving people live in a loving world. Hostile people live in a hostile world. But it's the same world. All right? And that's Wayne Dyer. And so here we are. We're talking about letting go of the trigger. And my question for you is, have you ever been triggered? Have you ever been upset about something? Have you ever felt insulted? Have you ever felt like people were against you and that you were being attacked? And that, you know, your heart starts racing and your face gets flushed and it's like, you feel the tension within you like you really are being attacked. And, you know, I have experienced this, and I believe that everybody has experienced upsets in their lives. In fact, in my immigration law firm, I have clients who have been so upset at something that happened that they actually use that as their fuel to immigrate. There's like, I'm immigrating to the United States because I'm so upset about something that's happened. My parents said something, some group insulted me or outcasted me or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty severe example, but it does happen, all right? I also have clients who in the moment are so upset by something, that was said or done to them, that they commit a crime in that moment, which is extreme also. You know, they slap someone, right? Or they, you know, get a club or something and beat someone, right? They react in anger. And that's not good. That's not good. And we want to control that, right? And it's not them. And I know it's not them because many times I've worked with them and many people are very, very peaceful if you work with them. But often people don't know how to handle an upset. People don't know how to let go of the trigger. And that's why I want to talk about it. All right. We got to realize that it's the upset. It's not them. All right. It's the upset that becomes in control only if we allow it to. So what causes that upset? You know, I want to tell you a story. About a year ago, I was camping. All right. I was on a camp out and we're supposed to be having fun. I had organized the camp out for a bunch of friends. We're there. My family's there. My kids had gone to sleep and I'm there talking. And we're talking, and there's this other guy that's at the campsite, and he starts saying something, and I start to get upset. And he triggered me, and I was ready to punch this guy. I was feeling tension within me. I was not anywhere. I would not have actually punched him at all, right? But I could feel that tension rising, and he was insulting me, and I was taking it personally. All right. And so now you might be asking, okay, what could you possibly said to me I'm a pretty laid back, you know, I love to play guitar. I love to relax. I'm a pretty friendly, I can't even remember the time before that I was last upset. I very rarely get upset by anything. All right. And yet this guy upset me a year ago. And what did he say to upset me? He used this word. He said that he thinks that I am exploiting people. All right. That was the word that he used that triggered me. All right. And so he thinks I'm exploiting people. He thinks I'm exploiting my employees. He thinks I'm exploiting our clients, right? Because I'm basically, his stance was that if I'm an entrepreneur and if I'm charging money for a service and if I'm making a profit, right, through the service, then by the very nature of that relationship, I'm exploiting uh, employees and clients, and his stance is basically the world, right? I'm exploiting the world, all right? And now I was listening to that and I was like, wow, I totally disagree with that. But I didn't just say, like, I totally disagree with it. I was like feelings of anger. And why was that? So the reason, after stepping back and thinking about it, the reason had nothing to do with him. Yeah. And I do very, very much fundamentally disagree with him. And I think that actually entrepreneurs, if you're thinking of starting a business, I think that entrepreneurs are the contribution to society, to our economy, to our world that the world needs. All right. We need more people to risk it and go for it and try to make a profit and try to be productive in the world. And I want to encourage everybody who's listening to me to look for ways to do that, and you don't have to start your own business to do that, but you can find ways to be entrepreneurial and find ways to contribute and to add value. All right. And that really is a belief that I have. But here's the truth, and this is why it upset me on that occasion. I didn't used to have that belief. In the old days, when I was back in college, I really did come from a mindset that money was the root of all evil, and that it's like bad to be making money, and it's bad to be you know out to make a profit, right? I actually did have those beliefs in me, right? I don't know if you are aware of this. My father was a pastor of a church as I was growing up. I grew up very much believing that there was this problem out there with growing wealth and with having money. And so when he said that, I was like, gosh, I've been trying so hard. I've been almost trying too hard to not cross that line and to never be, quote unquote, exploiting anybody, right? Trying to be almost too nice of a boss, all right, or too nice of a lawyer at times. And I've had to start to grow myself in that area to actually be willing to hold others accountable and actually be willing to have tough conversations and say, no, this doesn't work. All right. If it isn't working for our business. All right. And so all that is to say is and this is the point, his statement to me upset me because there was something in me from my past that I wasn't complete with. It had nothing to do with him. Yes, I do disagree with him, but he's fine to feel whatever he wants to feel, right? There was something in me that wasn't resolved in that instance. There was something in me that got triggered by that. There was something in me that was insecure about that. And that's what we all need to be aware of. When we get upset, when somebody looks at us and says, hey, you're fat, or when somebody looks at us and says, hey, you're a slob, or when somebody looks at us and say, hey, you're a jerk, or something like that, like they say mean things. The world out there, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as Rocky says. It's not. The truth is that there are people who will say mean things in their own upset. And now it turns to us. How are we going to handle that? And my question to you is, how are you going to handle it? And how did you handle it the last time you were upset? Because the world will be a better place if we can all recognize what upsets us and deal with it and learn from it and improve our own ability to catch ourselves and to not like lash out in anger and not like be all, hold a grudge against somebody or whatever, be resentful against somebody. The key is to step back for a minute and recognize that it's not them, it's us. All right. And there's something within us that's unresolved or insecure about that issue. And it's an opportunity to be self-aware and like discover something new about, that thing upsets me. That's interesting. Like, for example, if somebody were to insult me and call me fat, I don't know if you can see me on the video or whatever, but I don't consider myself fat at all. They might as well call me a frog, right? Or they might as well call me a monkey, all right? It doesn't mean anything to me. I would just laugh at that. That does not trigger me at all. And yet we all know people, right, who might be very triggered by that same sentence, all right? And it's not about the person saying it. It's about the person receiving it. There's something insecure about their weight or their self-image or something if they're triggered by that statement, all right? Now, that's not a statement that upsets me, but the statement that did upset me was that I was exploiting other people. And so, okay, now I've got to explore my own insecurity on that point and resolve it and grow and learn that actually, the truth of the matter is that in my opinion, I'm not exploiting anyone, and the truth of the matter is I'm actually contributing to people, all right? And so, cool. And so, all right, let go of the trigger, all right? And this is basically everything that I want to share today. So when we are faced with an upset, what can we do? And I've got just like 4 quick things that I wrote down that I recommend doing in the face of an upset. So the first thing to do is I recommend taking a time out, taking a pause, taking a breath. Take a moment and recognize when our heart starts beating more, recognize when we start to feel those feelings of anger, recognize that it's actually our own ego that is upset, triggered, upset, frustrated, angry by something else that was said, or it's typically something else that used to be affecting us or used to be in our thoughts in the past, all right? That's resurfacing as a result of what was just said. So first step, take a time out, take a pause, take a breath. The second step is once you're calm, once you've taken that time out, that pause, you can say something that sounds like this. You can say something that sounds like, what you said just upset me because I, and then fill in the blank, ... Or what you said makes me angry because I, ... And then use a I statement, all right? It's not about the other person. It's about me. And it's important that we recognize and we use language to the fact that it is about me, not them. All right? That's us taking responsibility for our reaction and our own upset. That's my second tip. My third tip is to, when possible in that situation, start to train yourself to smile and to use humor to release the tension. All right? Wow, what you said really upset me. That's funny. I haven't been upset by something in a long time. I do disagree with you, but you're free to share you're free to have your opinion. All right? And then you could just bring humor to it. All right, and then my fourth tip on dealing with an upset is don't ever hold a grudge. Don't hold a grudge. Let it go, all right? Holding a grudge is like holding the poison in. You don't want to hold the poison in. You want to let it go, all right? You don't want to hold the past in your head. Let it go. It doesn't matter. We don't have to continue to always add meaning to those things that happen. So those are my 4 tips when dealing with an upset. Take a time out, use a quote unquote I statement. Once you're calm, say what you said upsets me because or what you said makes me angry because and then you talk about why it affected you from your perspective. It's not about them. That's taking responsibility. The third tip is to smile or use humor. And the fourth tip is don't hold a grudge. Really, don't hold resentments. All right. It destroys the quality of your life. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for being with me. I hope this was helpful. My quote again by Wayne Dyer, which is where we started, is loving people live in a loving world. Hostile people live in a hostile world. But it's the same world. So when we get triggered and when we get upset, we get angry, all of a sudden we get hostile. And all of a sudden the world around us becomes a hostile place. And that's the point. I don't want that for you. And bring love to it. Bring curiosity to it. Bring a desire to grow to it. And then we'll all create that loving world that we want. All right. Thank you for being with me. I'm Otis Landerholm, and this is the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Empowered Immigrant Podcast. If you like what you heard and if you want to learn more, please go to landerholmimmigration.com/podcast.